Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 18 of PopCultX. As you can tell, here we are again, another video episode just for you. So, once again, I'm your co host, Daniel.
I'm Gabriel.
That is true. He is Gabriel. I like your new decor in your background, Gabe.
Yeah,
That's
so
pretty
I
cool.
guess maybe I should introduce my environments so people are understanding. This is my geek room. This is a guest room in our house,
The
and
best
as
room
you
in the
can see,
house.
it's
Nice.
filled with all of my nerdy, like my arcade, Pac-Man, and Marvel superhero video game arcade. I got my record player, some vinyl here that you can see. Lou Reed here is I'm listening to that right now. And then
Nice.
up above, you can see I collect superhero stuff. So I have a bunch of X-Men, Marvel Legend, action figures. And yeah, so that's what this room's all about. This is my man cave geek room, if you will.
I think what everyone wants to know, though, is what's up with your hat?
This is from Arizona. So this is where I'm from. This is a cool shop that me and my husband went into in Arizona, and they do
Okay.
sort of like felt hats and baseball hats. I got one that had Wilbur Wildcat, which is the mascot for the school I went to, the University of Arizona, and this one is sort of looks like, I guess, a monster. I don't know.
I was going to say it's either a cross between Deadpool and a luchador.
Yeah, it has
So,
that luchador vibe, so I think that's why we
yeah.
got it. And which is one of the benefits of being in a same sex relationship is you get to borrow stuff from your spouse, and I guess you could too. You could wear Christina's
I,
stuff if you
I
want.
could wear a sun hat, I guess. It would,
Yeah,
it'd
I
block
mean,
the
gender roles
light, but
are invented, so I mean, if you want, next time wear a little crop top.
a little crop top, yes. I'm sure that would go over really well. We want to get people to watch, not throw up in disgust here. So,
Yeah, I mean, don't be too hard on yourself. You never know who might be into that. For every, I almost said every. What is that? One man's trash is another man's treasure, and I'm like, wait, am I calling you trash?
pretty much, but it's okay. I get it. There's a flavor of cake for everyone, I guess,
Yeah,
right? So,
exactly. So
so go
no, I was
ahead.
just gonna say. So how have you been? Like, what have you been up to this last week?
Well, this past week, just been watching a lot of the Olympics, um, and just was really. I don't. I don't have cable TV, so I'm not able to watch them live.
Yeah,
So I've been watching a lot. I've been following on Twitter a lot what's going on. I've been following on like the daily highlights.
yeah,
So like I saw the thing that really stood out to me. Two things. One was the Filipino weightlifter. I forgot her name, but she won the gold medal, the first for her country, for the Philippines in any sport.
wow,
And she like deadlifted like 127 kilograms, which is like 270 pounds or something like that. And just seeing the joy and just how magical of a moment that was to witness. It was a highlight reel, so it was delayed, whatever. But just being able to watch it and seeing the pure joy and knowing that all the training she put in, all the time away from family, because I think she had to spend 2 years in Malaysia because of the whole pandemic while she
yeah,
was training. But now she got to reunite with her family, just to see that un I guess what's the right word? Unalterated, unundulated, something like that. Joy,
unadulterated.
just as, yeah, whatever. Just that pure joy, and just it was just awesome to watch.
Yeah.
Have you caught any of the Olympics?
I've seen little bits and pieces, but to touch on what you're talking about, I think it's really cool that a woman in the Philippines is the first person to ever win an Olympic medal.
Hmm.
Because I think that
A
that
gold medal, gold medal.
gold medal, it's very similar to their Filipino culture to Spanish or
Yeah.
obviously having been colonized by the Spanish and where it's sort of like a macho society. And I think that it's kind of cool that a woman in especially in that sport is
Hmm.
kind of putting them on the map. So I think that's really cool and exciting. But I'm really excited that they were able to win in that event. That's really cool. The first thing that I saw, my impression of the Olympics was the opening ceremony. Um,
Oh, I know.
that's kind of like normally what I tune in for. I'm not a big fan of the individual sports themselves. And so I tuned in, and I think the theme of the opening ceremony for me was like WTF. Like I really didn't understand it. Um, and so like just the one kind of moment that stood out for me was like the boxer just like running on the treadmill. I don't know if you
Okay.
saw that part. And
I didn't see that part. I saw them building some houses and stuff,
yeah,
but
so there was a boxer, a female boxer, and she's just like running on a treadmill, like, and then she stops and she's like out of breath, and there's like these weird dancers, and it 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 was very unique. Let me put it that way. Like I kind of feel like it was like produced by Yoko Ono. Like it was very like avant garde,
very
very
artsy,
like
very
out
nice.
there, which is
Uh-huh.
cool. But I don't know. When I think of opening ceremonies, I want it to be culturally significant to the culture of the host place. So like if it's in Brazil, I want to see some like Brazilian culture. If it's in the UK, like things like that. So I was a little disappointed that I didn't see. I don't know. It wasn't what I expected, but I thought it was still cool. The other thing that I typically will watch is like the Olympic athletes kind of walking into the stadium and getting
Hmm.
introduced.
Hmm.
One of the funny things is the athlete from I think it's Tonga that comes in, and he's like oiled up and like super muscular, and he's like, I think this is like his what, like third appearance in the Olympics, and everyone like looks forward to like seeing him because like he's now like so iconic in pop culture
Uh-huh.
of everyone else is in like their Olympic outfits, and he comes in like this little like outfit and like showing off his greased off body. So I thought that was kind of funny, especially from a pop culture sense that
Right,
he's now
right.
known, more for that statement, or him coming in half naked versus the athletics that he is representing or his country.
Okay.
So it's kind of funny. And then
I
of course like the latest news is Simone Biles. I think
Oh
like
yeah.
stepping down from an event.
Hmm.
I think you knew more about that than I probably do.
Yeah, it was. So it speaks a lot to one of the themes I was going to get into in this episode was about mental health. And so she stepped back from the team championship final round of gymnastics. So she did one event, and then afterwards she landed awkwardly, and she met her trainer and she stepped aside. And it comes later on. Everyone thought it was just an injury at first. So okay, she's stepping aside because she injured herself, which is is okay. It's understandable. But then she reveals that she wasn't injured, but she was not mentally available or ready for the event. And I pulled out some quotes from her in regards to that. And it's just, but before I say that, I think it's very courageous of her to step back, knowing that if she were to move forward in that mental state that she was in, she could, A, injure herself. It's not like it's a job where she goes sits at a computer and she can just sit at the desk and not do anything.
Yeah,
It's a highly athletic sport where any sort of mental lapse will could severely injure her. And B, she's also removing herself because it could hurt her teammates' chances of winning a medal. So I think she's putting it's like a selfless act basically. So she's and also a selfish act because she's looking out for herself. And I think that's one of the things that she said, where she says, I truly do feel that I have the weight of the world on my shoulders at times. I know that I brush it off and make it seem like pressure doesn't affect me, but damn, sometimes it's hard. The Olympics are no joke. Now, as you know, her history, she's one of I think she's the last remaining women gymnast who was affected by the sexual uh, assault scandal that rocked the whole gymnastic
yeah,
world, and she's had to be the face of that for so long. So if you can imagine, it's almost like a PTSD moment there. So something in her just made her say, "I can't do this right now." And kudos to her for not having to feel like she has to prove anything to any of us or like she owes us something. That she knows she has to put herself first and take care of herself.
yeah.
So I'm glad for that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I do think that it's a really courageous act for her,
Hmm.
especially with such a huge spotlight on her. To be able to
Exactly.
admit, it takes a lot of humility to admit to someone or to an audience that you may be having a moment, and you have to step back. And I really applaud her for that because she's a role model in so many different ways, not only
Oh
for
yeah, yeah.
young women, for athletes, but now for people that do deal with mental health issues and have to realize that at the end of the day, your mental health and your well-being is the most important thing that you have, because you then can't go and perform if you're not there
Hmm.
at your 100%. And in our culture, and American culture, so many times, it's trying to push yourself to perform at all times, like give it
Yeah.
110%, show up. You don't want to be a quitter. And we put ourselves under a lot of pressure from societal standards. And I myself have found myself in that type of a situation where I thought, I'm obviously not happy, healthy, and for what? For a job that at the end of the day is
Exactly.
not important. So I need to step back in order for me to get back to where I am happy, because it's not
Hmm.
worth being burnt out or getting to a place that could be really ugly because you're pushing yourself to perform, and you really shouldn't be. So I really applaud her.
Right.
I'm glad that kind of looking through Twitter and all of social media, that the vast majority of people are really supporting her. She's a
Exactly. Yeah.
multi-gold medalist. She has nothing to prove. She's at the top of her game,
Hmm.
and so kudos to her for stepping up and really speaking out to what she's dealing with. And I'm really glad to see that at sometimes humanity can be good, and they're supporting her as opposed to really saying anything negative. So it's overall like a really great moment, and I think that it's a really good learning moment for everyone that can see
Yeah.
this, especially young people that see that it's important to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Very good. Very true. Very true.
Yeah. So in addition to the Olympics, which is kind of like the big event going on right now, right? Like everyone in the world is
Hmm.
watching. The other thing that I think that people were really looking forward to with like bated breath was the premiere of the new season of Ted Lasso. Of course, all of our listeners and myself know that you're like number one fan of the show. And so, did you get a chance to watch the premiere, and what were your thoughts?
Of course I did. Of course I did. It was wonderful, and that was when I mentioned mental health, is actually thinking about the episode of season premiere of Ted Lasso, and that one of the players on the team had to see a sports psychologist. And I thought in itself that was really cool because, it's what happens in the real world. People, they lose their way and they need to be helped reminded of why they did that sport to begin with and to find the joy in it again. But I think what was more telling for me, other than just the one player having to watch it again, or not watch it again, go visit the psychologist, was that a few of his other teammates who they didn't bring her in, the psychologist in for, were also there to see her, the psychologist. So they took it upon themselves because they knew they had issues that they wanted to work through. Now, mental health and seeing psychologists, something that I personally, I'm like Ted Lasso in that I don't really get it because I feel like they're always out to get me. So, I mean, I've never seen one, and I don't know if I ever will. But at some point, I think it's something that we all need to um, just put down the stigmata of what seeing a
The
psychologist
stigma, yeah.
will means. Stigma, yeah, not stigmata. That's like,
That's my Catholic upbringing coming out of your Catholic in your head. Uh, but so I didn't get a chance to watch it. I've been really busy, so unfortunately I didn't
oops.
watch it. I like am dying to see it. But I think something that we haven't discussed about Ted Lasso is that's really positive is that the themes through the show and this new idea of like masculinity. And I think that I talked about how initially I saw that it was a sports show, and I thought, oh, it's going to be
Hmm.
douchey. Like I don't want to watch a show about football. And but what I liked about it, and what I think everyone is really related to, is this these athletes, these symbols of masculinity, these really like rough and tumble football players, and how they react to all different types of situations, right? So like divorce,
Hmm.
breakups,
Hmm.
getting
Hmm.
older, and all these different things. And that men have emotions like shocker, surprise to people, that they
That's very
cry,
true.
and they have heartache, and um, that they're able to express that. And I think that that's a really cool side, effect of the show, is that maybe people will especially people that are really stuck in that like toxic masculinity mold of like, we're men, we can't express ourselves, we're not allowed to cry, we can't, be sad, we just, all we can really be is aggressive and, and hard. And that's what I really
Yeah.
like about the show is that, it's breaking boundaries, because I think so many men are similar to you and thinking that, not to put words in your mouth because you didn't say this, but are a lot of men, I think, feel that psychiatry or therapists are for weak-minded people. Like that's kind of like the words that are used is like,
No, you're
you're,
right.
you're really weak-minded if you
That's
have to
about
go
right.
to
Yeah.
someone to kind of get a tune-up for your brain.
Hmm.
Like just deal with it, suck it up. And that's something that I kind of felt or internalized, is that I did see therapy or a therapist, and I didn't necessarily like tell people about it, because I didn't want everyone to think like, oh, you're crazy, you're weak, like you can't handle the normal day pressures that everyone else can handle. But in reality, everyone's facing the same thing and are dealing with it in a lot of
Hmm.
different ways. Like, you know, we know people that like instead of seeing the therapist, they're going to the bottle and they're drinking away their sorrows and they're drinking themselves to
That's
sleep,
true.
or the
Hmm.
other different ways that they're approaching their mental health, and they're medicating themselves. So that's what I really like about Ted Lasso, aside from the fact that it's hilarious and their characters are just really cool, is that they are exploring these new notions of what it is to be a man, and what we can do when it comes to our emotions and expressions. And I think that that's really cool. So I can't
Yeah.
wait to see it. I did see that one of
Yeah.
the cool
It's
sort of pop culture moments is that they had a scene where Ted Lasso mentions Diane Sawyer, and Diane
yeah.
Sawyer replied back in real life on Twitter and was
In,
like, "Oh,
hmm
I'm down to,
hmm
to meet up. If you're a
Anytime or
mood."
something.
And
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious because one, I love Diane
Yeah.
Sawyer, and I thought that was a really cool moment of like worlds coming together, like this like famous iconic journalist like watching this show and then mentioning it, mentioning her on the show in a fictional capacity, and her responding in real life. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, I saw that. That was really cool. I think the writers. Now I won't give away too much more of the episode because you haven't seen it, but I think Brendan Hunt wrote the episode, or Hunting. He's the gentleman who plays
Yeah,
Coach Beard on the show, and he did a really good job getting all the characters their season two arcs just
yeah.
started, and you could see where he's going to be going. Well, not where they're going to be going, but just building them up. And I can't wait for the rest of the season. I mean, 12 episodes, 12 terrific date nights, I guess you would say,
Nice.
because it is an event. It really is. I mean, I look forward to it now. It's like today, I'm like, oh man, I still have 3 more days
No, I
till
get it.
I can
Like
watch
I'm
another episode.
literally the same way, and I think that that's why this podcast is so great for us, because I'm the same way. Like I have my like Thursday nights, I have like my Friday nights, and you do really look forward to it. I mean, there's
Yeah.
especially in this climate right now with the pandemic, there's only so much that you can do outside the world right now, and it is comforting to know like once a week you have this really cool show to look forward to, and it makes you feel good. Like it takes away like all the stress of the week. So I'm right there
Yeah, that's
with you.
true.
There's a couple of shows that I have that I have like my days, you have them recorded. I'm a huge fan of like recording the show so I don't have to watch commercials, and being able to like fast forward through them and just kind of binge through them. So really cool. The other thing
Right
that
on.
I wanted to talk about, which is kind of a pop culture moment, which for me is exciting, is Jennifer Lopez's birthday just passed. She just turned 52, and she looks freaking
I,
amazing. Like still on fire, still like hot as ever. But the
hmm
the like the spotlight is on her as well, because she also kind of made public her relationship with Ben Affleck again, and so they're back on. I think what they're called Benifer, and
Yeah, Bennifer
yeah,
2.0,
and I
right, or
think
something
that
like that, or is it 3.0?
yeah, I think it. Oh, I guess this would be the second time. I mean, they were engaged, so
Well, yeah, but since he was with Jennifer
yeah.
Garner, so
we're forgetting about
Never
that.
mind.
It's about this new. And
Okay.
so what I think is kind of cool about it is that, you know, them being from, a little bit older than us. She's 52, but I think she would be Gen X, right? Maybe like at the higher
I think
level.
so. Hmm.
It's kind of like a romantic situation where like they were in their youth when they first hooked up and were together, and then they kind of went their separate ways, had kids, and now they're older, they're maybe wiser, and they're back together. And I think that's kind of a cool moment. Like, I mean, it's. I'm probably putting way more into it than maybe what it is, but it seems like it's kind of a romantic notion, right? Of like, they're together, whatever circumstances happen, they broke up, and they went on with their separate lives, and then now they're back together, and it's kind of cool. Like, it's
Fate is bringing them
yeah,
back
maybe it
together.
gives
Yeah.
gives hope to like people that like had that like high school sweetheart or college sweetheart that they broke up with, and maybe there's still hope for them to get back together, or mending for all those broken-hearted people
Yeah.
out there.
So all the brokenhearted really want it to work, is
Yeah,
what you're saying.
I think it's kind of up. I mean, in a way, it's uplifting. It's like to see a couple that was put through the scrutiny. I mean, they were like one of the first couples that was like
Oh yeah, that's true.
spotlights on them, paparazzi, like this. That was like at the top of like that paparazzi stalking moments,
Hmm.
and so obviously they were under a lot of pressure of like, are they going to stay together? Like, why are they together? And so I'm sure that took a toll on their relationship. And now I think the pressure's off. They're a lot older, and they get to kind of have fun. And so I think it's kind of cool. Um, she, I think now it's kind of out in the open, but she got cheated on by, I think, what's his name? Is it A Rod? Yeah,
A
the A
Rod.
Rod. And
Yeah,
so I think
I
it's
think
like
so.
that kind of like was like a real shitty moment for her, like to publicly be, cheated on. And like she
Hmm.
probably thought, okay, here I am turning 52, like screw it. Like let me have fun. Let me just like
I know. I don't have
yeah,
to wait for this.
let's
Yeah.
have some fun. And like so I give props to them both. Like, he's famously has those memes of like him looking really depressed and sullen, and hopefully this kind of maybe puts him in a really good place, and mazel, I guess, to them.
Months. I think the most telling thing that I saw about the relationship was before it was Jennifer Lopez is Ben Affleck's girlfriend. Now, I think the most telling thing is now it's Ben Affleck is Jennifer
Yeah.
Lopez's boyfriend. So how like the roles have reversed and how seemingly either she's above or on par with his star,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
guess,
if
how
I was
famous
like
they are.
standing in the middle of the road and you had Ben Affleck on one side and Jennifer Lopez on the other, I'm running to the Jennifer Lopez side. Like she's definitely, I
I
think
think me too.
for
Yeah.
more reasons than one. Like I've always been a fan of hers. I think, uh, starting with like in Living Color when she was a fly girl.
Hmm.
Not that I
Hmm.
was like, oh, that's Jennifer Lopez, but like the Fly Girls were like pretty cool, right? And then I think the
Yeah.
first like big role was Selena, and I became a
Selena.
big fan of
Hmm.
hers for that. She did an amazing job in Selena, like just perfect. And then this music came out, the dancing, just her like her personality, like that like New Yorican, like laid back kind of swag that she has, like I've always respected. I don't think she takes herself too seriously, and I respect the fact that she stays like physically like in shape for such a long time. Like it's really
Hmm.
commendable, like because it,
Hmm.
it takes so much hard work to be able to look like that. That I'm just in awe. Like it's good for her that at 52 she looks better than like most people do in their 20s. And so
Yeah. True.
she's not even just like a Latina icon. Like she's just an icon now. Like she's transcended that subculture or subgenre of remember like back in the day they had like the Latin explosion, and it was like Jennifer Lopez, Ricky Martin, and everyone was like, oh, this moment.
Yeah.
And then like it kind of died down, and she still outlasted that. She still kept making movies. She still like released these like really cool singles. And even though people like kind of dog her out for not having the best voice, I just think she's just like a great entertainer. Like I when I saw her live, Like,
Hmm.
okay, the voice is not, she's not the best singer in the world. She can carry a note for sure, but it's the overall entertainment, like the choreography, the energy,
It's the
like the
whole package,
package, yeah,
right?
the visuals, and just a lot of
Yeah.
fun. So I'm really happy for her. Hopefully this works out. If not, maybe they're having a good time. So keep it up.
Hey, that's true. Keep it up. Yeah. Way to go,
Yep.
Benefit 2.0. Dig it. I think one thing, just real quick to touch on her, is her acting chops. Now, when I saw her in Hustlers, now she should have been nominated for Academy Award for that. I mean, that was fantastic
Yeah.
performance. And, she's in a lot of rom coms, which is kind of the bread and butter for what she does. But when she came out in
You
Hustlers,
know
that
what?
was
What
great.
else
That was
I
really
really I
fantastic movie.
saw her in that I started taking her seriously as an actress was a movie called U Turn. I want to say that. Do you remember that?
Okay,
And
yeah.
and
Hmm.
and it takes place in
Hmm.
Arizona, and I believe she plays like an indigenous woman. And the accent that she had, me being from Arizona and being around an indigenous community, she really got that accent like really well. It wasn't like a stereotypical or like racist notion of how an indigenous person speaks. Like it was very true. Like when I heard it, I was like, oh wow, she really captured that. And whereas the other actor that was in the movie was Joaquin Phoenix, he was like over the top, and like his accent was like so
Yeah.
not like anyone from Arizona. It was like a southern like Texas accent. And so like in comparison, I'm like, oh, she does have really good acting chops. Like she's a good actor. She's not just like a dancer who's like trying to segue into acting. And for me, that was like one of the times that I was like, oh, okay, she's a really good actress. Like she's gonna be able to have this new career in this new venue or this new
Hmm.
genre, and she's really gonna do well. And that's when I started becoming a fan of hers.
Cool. Yeah, that was back in '97. I was working at a movie theater when that came out.
Yeah, it
I
was good.
remember that movie.
I was still in Arizona. I want to say I was working at Best Buy. I for sure. Wait, what was it? Did you say 97? I started working for a bank. Yeah, that's when I started working for Wells
Yeah.
Fargo. Let's go ahead and get on the next topic. So, what else has kind of been on your mind, or what have you been watching or up to?
Um, I like I like to find up and coming artists, some musicians, whether it be musicians, painters, any sort of people that that are haven't quite made it to the mainstream yet, but we should keep an eye on them because they're gonna hit it big. So I was flipping through. I think it was just on my Apple Music and just looking for new songs to hear because I love music, and I came across a artist by the name of Carol's Daughter. Now that's her name isn't Carol because
Yeah,
she's Carol's daughter, of course. Her name is Thea Taylor, I believe, and she's quite interesting. So she's like this. She was raised Mormon, but now she's like this goth mall punk
right.
artist, and her songs are some of them are very pop esque style, so they're poppy, but the lyrics are very dark, and it's just a weird combination that really works. So I encourage everyone, if you haven't heard her, go listen to her now, Carol's Daughter, and there's like tracks like I think it's called Violent, where she talks about an abusive
Oh wow.
relationship or getting out of an abusive relationship, and the acoustic version of that was just so awesome, so haunting, and I just love that. I mean, she has like multiple piercings on her face and tattoos all over. She has one with like a deep tattered demon wings on her back, and she has like this blood red hair, and like the typical what you would picture punk
Yeah.
rock looking from like the early 80s in Los Angeles or something like that. Actually, that's where she was inspired to look into punk rock, was from seeing a tattoo of
Oh nice.
Black Flag, punk rock band. So she saw that, and that's what inspired her to go look up what that was, and then she dove into the genre and she just jumped in feet first. I mean, I think she's only 18, but she's young.
Oh wow. Yeah, so I when you mentioned it to me earlier on the week, I went and checked her out, and one of the things that first popped into my mind was like, this is right up my alley because it was very much like
Hmm.
that like
Hmm.
riot girl movement of like the 90s. Like if you
Yeah.
remember like Liz Fair, Courtney Love, Hole, Kathleen Hanna, Bikini Kill, like that. I've always been a really big fan of like that pop punk
Yeah.
alternative sound, and especially from the riot girl movement, which was like Seattle. What part of the country is that? Northwest or whatever.
Unless they've
uh,
moved it.
uh, yeah, and so like Babes in Toyland, like I loved those bands. Like I still do. Like I can still listen to Live Through This Hole's album like till today. Like I think it's one of my favorite albums of all time. And so when I started listening to her, like immediately sort of started taking
Hmm.
me back to that early high school, middle school time that I loved that genre of music. and
Mm, yeah.
and just and the visuals as well. Like it makes me very reminiscent
Hmm.
of like 120 minutes on MTV, when you could turn on television and watch videos, and artists had really cool visuals, and really like thought-provoking videos. Like I think of like people like Bjork, or uh, I don't know, like Hole,
Hmm.
or Tori Amos, and their voice and their music. It was just like a whole kind of package. It was the
Yeah.
antithesis of like pop music is right now, with
Oh,
like Ariana
definitely.
Grande,
Yes.
or
Hmm.
uh, and so I miss that. Like I miss like listening to the radio and there just being such a huge diversity of like from one song to the next. You could hear like Nirvana, and then the next person could be Tori Amos, or you could hear Lisa Loeb. Like it was just like
Hmm.
such different variety of music. And so that like immediately got me kind of thinking, and her songs are really cool. I do love the
Yeah.
sound of her music. So thanks for bringing that to my attention. And yeah, our listeners should definitely check her out. Like I love discovering new music from new artists, and she's definitely a
Cool.
winner. I love herself. Another, like, speaking of new music, the one of the bands that I kind of wanted to mention, of not necessarily like up and coming, but just kind of like new music that's coming out, is Kat
Hmm.
Von D, who is like famous tattoo artist,
Yeah.
reality show. You might know her from like Miami Ink, LA Ink. She has a new band
Oh, right
and
on.
is releasing new music. And one of the guys in her bands I photographed a couple years ago, he is from like the San Diego scene. His name's Dave Parlay, and he is the drummer for her band. And he's also in another band, Prayers, with Leofar, who is Kat's
Gotcha.
husband. So it's kind of like all intermixed. And the music's very much within that same genre of music as Prayers. They're sort of like that cholo goth scene. So uh, she's kind of like very much like that. Her aesthetic is very dark. So the music is definitely kind of goth pop punk, which appeals to me. Even though you can't really tell by looking at me, but I do love that sort of genre of music. And the band is really cool. Like I think her being a visual artist with tattooing and painting and drawing and all of that, she takes her visuals very seriously as well. Like uh, you can see that in her makeup design, or her marketing and things like that. And so her videos are very stylized, really cool. Um, One of her band
Oh,
members
wow.
is actually a
That's cool.
contortionist, which I thought was really cool. And she's a member of her band, so it's not just like, oh, this is my backup dancer. Like this is
Right.
part of her like musical family. And it's really cool. She did a video. I want to call it. I think that it's called Exorcism, and they are like sort of floating around. It looks like they're flying. Very goth, very like vegan leather outfits, and the contortionist is like doing these really crazy demonic like backflips and walking upside down and all this cool stuff. So it's really cool. They're going to be touring, definitely in San Diego. I know that they're going to be playing here with her husband's band as well, with Prayers. So I guess they're going to be headlining, and they're also going to
Oh, okay.
Arizona, I think maybe Vegas as well, and then California. So I think definitely our listeners should check it out if they're into that vibe, that Southern California cholo goth for fans of like people who like Morrissey or
Hmm.
Jesus and the Mary Chain, that sort of vibe. It's very cool. It's definitely not music you put on and then go like jog to or exercise or get you hyped up. This is like end of the night, like relaxing, like maybe
Okay.
with a good drink or something or whatever your favorite choices and relaxing and chilling and have some thought provoking lyrics because the lyrics are very well written as well. Like she talks about
Nice.
breakups and a lot of cool stuff. So I recommend it. So I would recommend for people to check it out. Really cool band. She's got a really cool sound. Musicality is there.
Right
Really
on.
cool. So
Right on.
check it out.
Well, I think that will bring us to what we're going to call, or what I'm dubbing, the Big L. Now, why the Big L? Well, when I was thinking of this topic, I was thinking of like legends or who's legendary in pop culture, and the Big L.
Yeah.
They're huge. They're icons. They're legends. So this is a little mini series that we're going to do for everyone. So each week we're going to highlight. Each one of us is going to pick a actor, musician, comic artist, someone that's really influenced us that maybe the younger generation doesn't know about, or maybe they do, but just some insight into how we feel about them and what kind of movement or just how they've affected us throughout our lives. So, with that in mind, Gabe, go ahead and
Yeah.
let us know who your Volume 1 Big L person is.
Yeah, so my pick is one of the few stars that I think or icons that's out there that's known by just one name.
Ah,
That would be
nice.
Whoopi or Whoopi Goldberg. So I've loved Whoopi Goldberg from the time that I was a kid. She's pretty much been in the spotlight since then, and her movies are so memorable and meaningful for me. So just to kind of touch base or like maybe introduce some of those movies to people that aren't that familiar with maybe her older stuff. So you have like Jumping
Hmm.
Jack Flash, you have Sister Act, you have
And part 2.
Ghost. Yeah, Sister Act 2. You have Ghost. You have her comedy specials. And then, more recently, she sort of had like her like second, third, fourth act as being on the host of The View and sharing more of her
Right.
opinions on pop culture, which obviously I'm a huge fan of. People like sharing their, commentary on what's going on in the world. And that's where I sort of got an extra bit of respect for her because she's sort of now grown out of just like that actress comedian and now to someone that like I really respect their opinion. I think she has a very unique outlook on politics and world events that goes beyond just like liberal conservative. It's I just she is one of those people that's like very real, very straightforward, and will tell you like it is, and I love that.
Yeah.
I think one of her the roles that I love most from her is from The Color Purple, and it's one of my
Yes.
favorite
Yes.
books, and it's such a good movie. And for anyone that is maybe younger or older that hasn't seen that movie, like get on it and watch it now. It's such a good movie.
Hmm.
Oprah Winfrey is in it.
Hmm.
Uh, Danny
Danny Glover.
Glover,
Yeah.
tons of like great people. It's such a gut wrenching, sad, but like inspirational movie of like someone that can like overcome so much in their life, but still have a joy and be motivated to move forward and still have like love in their heart, like that,
Hmm.
and not be overtaken by hatred.
Hmm.
So it's such an important message. I think for people to to not let hate overcome you, even though like you may be oppressed, you may be facing a lot of hatred in your life, to not let it change who you are. And uh, I just loved her for that role. I mean,
Yeah.
she's such a great actress. And you want to talk about icon? She's one of like I think what 16 people that is an EGOT. So that means that she's won an Emmy, a
I
Grammy,
mean,
an Oscar, and a Tony.
wow.
So that in
That's
itself
iconic.
is like hats off to her.
Hmm.
Like very few people can do that. That just means like you're the shit. Like I mean, it's like an Oscar proves that you can act, but like to have all four of the major awards is just incredible. And she's also like a businesswoman. She has like a t-shirt line. I think she has like a cannabis line, and she's been known as being like a supporter of the legalization of marijuana for like quite some time now. And she's pro gun. She like we'll keep it real. Like she carries a gun. She has guns in her house. And I could go on for an hour about her, but one of my favorite like moments of Whoopi Goldberg, like outside of her acting, is on The View. One of the co-hosts was talking about um, Cara Delevingne, who is a model slash
Mhm.
actress, and she was kind of getting embroiled in a controversy because she like I think rolled her eyes at a reporter, and one of them said, well, it comes with the territory. She's famous, she's got a little bit of an attitude. And Whoopi Goldberg said, wait, she's not famous, I'm famous. And I was just like, it's such a perfect moment. Like, yeah, no, bitch, you're getting there.
Right.
You've got some notoriety. You're a model. You're getting your toes wet. But when you get on the level of Whoopi Goldberg, that's when you're famous. When people know you by like one name,
Hmm.
and you've gotten all the accolades, you've gotten all the respect of people that know you, and I love her for that, because not a lot of people would be willing to put someone in their place like that. And
Especially on
that
air, right?
she's a badass.
Yeah, she is. She really is. I mean, I remember watching her in. I mean, my first remembrance of her is probably his Sister Act,
Yeah.
and just watching that and how she played that role, and it was just a joyful movie. Yeah, but The Color Purple is fantastic. It's just.
And Ghost, like the moment when,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so quotable when she is talking to Patrick Swayze's ghost, and he's telling her that his wife's in danger, and she's like, you can't just spit that out, you can't just tell someone that they're in danger. Let me tell her the way I can tell her. And she looks right at Demi Moore's character and says, Molly, you in danger, girl. That's like one of the best lines ever that has ever been uttered. And like, can you imagine anyone other than Whoopi Goldberg saying that? Like, it's so funny and just so like perfect. I don't know. I love her. Like, I think she's just like a great person. She's a great actress. She's hilarious, irreverent, doesn't take herself too seriously. So she's the best.
Yeah, I agree.
So drum roll. What was
Oh,
the person that you picked?
well, I spun the wheel. I have a wheel in my other room where I have all the artists that I thoroughly enjoy, and I spun the wheel to see who would land on, to who I would talk about this week, and it landed on Robin Williams. Now, most people here will know him because of his comedy and his comedic roles in movies like Night at the Museum, Mrs. Doubtfire, the voice of Genie in Aladdin. Um, I could go on. Patch Adams. He has done so many, and you guys all know him. And when I first um, saw him on TV, it was in a movie, I think Moscow on the Hudson. So he played a Russian, I think, circus performer who was defecting to the United States. And the thing that really stood with me at the time, I think it was maybe 7 or 8. I don't really know how old I was, but he had a Russian accent. And then I saw him again later on, and he didn't have that accent. Now, as a child, I didn't quite understand that actors can do accents, and it's not their same voice. So I was confused. Like, isn't that guy over there? But he's talking differently. Is he now changed his voice to just a regular English accent? I just didn't comprehend it. And once I finally realized what it was, I think I started putting the maybe the acting bug into me, where it's like, that's, you can be someone else, you can be a character, you don't just have to be one person. And of course, he started out with Mork and Mindy. He started out in Comedy Store in LA. And and a thing I enjoy a lot about him is his comedy. He's such a hurricane of energy, and I thoroughly enjoy that, because I feel like I'm like that too. I get a little spastic at times. My mind goes in 20 different directions all at the same time, and I'm picking at this branch, picking at that one, and the way he was able to control that chaos and deliver it to us was just hilarious. I especially like when he went on talk shows, and he was able to, and I saw the talk show hosts and their face, they were just like not knowing what to expect from him. so they had to stay on their toes, and that just always made me laugh. Not so much what he was doing, just seeing their reaction to what he was doing or saying, because it was just almost like a deer in a headlight. They were just like in fear of what he was going to do. It was just so
Yeah.
wonderful. Um, but he also had his demons, and he had his addiction trouble, and back to the mental health aspect. And he, of course, later on in life, we learned that he was dealing with a disease that, cut into what made himself him, and that's what ultimately led him to take his own life, unfortunately. But one of when he did his role in Goodwill Hunting, when he played a psychologist there, one of his lines that he's told Matt Damon's character really stuck with me, that he had to go see about a girl. Now, I always say this because I feel like it kind of embodied me in a moment where he was at a baseball game. He didn't go to that game because he had to go see about a girl. Where I was, same as me, I was going to a baseball game, got a call, and I had to go see about a girl. So I always laugh about that. But he's one of the few celebrities that when I learned of their passing, it really hit me hard. It was like, it felt like just a piece of me was gone. It was just like I'd grown up with him, on seeing him on TV, and it was just one of those moments that was kind of surreal. It's like, no way, he's not dead. I mean, when I heard about Kurt Cobain, it was one thing, Michael Jackson, it was another thing, but it didn't hit home as much as Robin Williams did. And he is a legend, he is an icon, and he will forever have a place in my heart, even if he's gone. Yeah. So that's my
Uh,
pick.
yeah, it was really tragic, and it was a really huge loss for the world. I mean, he was such a
Hmm.
kind-hearted person. I think that the way that our two choices are related is that they did such great work with was it called comedy relief or comic
Yeah,
relief?
comedy relief. Yeah, I was going to
Comedy
mention
relief,
that. I
where
forgot
they
about it.
worked with Billy Crystal
Hmm.
on helping
And homelessness.
homelessness. Yeah,
Hmm.
and they kind of had very similar paths. They started off as comedians, and really showed that they were really great actors. And um, I think that they were kindred spirits in that they, even though that they are, comics are seen as like clowns or like funny
Yeah.
people, that they really have like a really great concern for like the well-being of like other people,
Hmm.
is what made them, made Robin Williams and Whoopi Goldberg so endearing, is that they do have a heart, and it comes out in the role, in their comedy and the roles that they play, and in their character, you can really see it. And so I'm right there with you. Like when he passed away, I was really sad. It was really a great loss, but he left such a great legacy for
Yeah, he
everyone. I
did.
mean,
Hmm.
kids will be watching Aladdin forever. I mean, and Genie is like one of the greatest characters that really. I mean, no insult to Will Smith, but Genie is Robin Williams, and
Yeah,
that's just, that's his character, and he did such an iconic job with it. Mrs. Doubtfire. I mean, there's so many different roles that he did, and um, such a good actor, good funny comedian, and he was just really beloved. I think
hmm,
for all of us. So.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm glad that we were able to pick two people that are kind of related. That I mean, are almost like two sides of one coin. I mean,
that's true.
they're very similar work, very similar people. I know obviously Whoopi was devastated when Robin Williams
Hmm.
passed, and it really impacted her, and she's spoken about that. And uh, yeah, so it's just really tragic. But on a positive note, it did put the light, a spotlight, or shine the light on mental health issues, and hopefully maybe will have a positive impact in people's lives from that aspect. And then also just, he left really great legacy.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, you mentioned Nirvana, and so I noticed your shirt, and I was going to mention that what's funny and was a really like, one, I have that shirt, and then two, uh, it reminds me of something that happened in when Nirvana was like at their peak, and the shirt that I'm wearing. So I'm wearing a shirt with RuPaul on it, and
Okay.
it reminds me of the MTV Awards when Kurt Cobain and Courtney just had their baby Frances Bean Cobain, and RuPaul was there, and Kurt and Courtney were so excited to meet RuPaul, and she was holding the baby, and they took a picture. And it was like such a weird like dichotomy of like, Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love, like these grunge alternative icons, and
Hmm.
sort of like counterculture with like this big like supermodel of the world drag queen. And it was like just a really cool moment because um, I really appreciated that Kurt was such an outsider from the mainstream. And
Yeah.
I think he famously said that like people thought that he was gay in high school, and he was like, that he's not, but that he still felt the same way, because he was an outsider. And it was like he related and sympathized with people that were gay and with outsiders and with like people that were part of counterculture, so like drag
Hmm.
queens or
Hmm.
people that are trans, or and that's what endeared me to him, is that he wasn't, that whole music scene was so like the opposite of like jock jams, of like the
Yeah.
heavy metal, like fist pumping,
Hmm.
like jocks. Like it was for, you know the outcast, for the artistic people, like
Very true.
and so like it's funny that we're both wearing shirts that I think that are related to that moment, and that special memory that I have of both RuPaul and Kurt Cobain and Courtney and Frances Bean. And I just saw an interview with Frances Bean and Cobain, and it's crazy that, as an adult, how much she looks just like her parents. So it's odd for me to watch her talk,
That's weird.
because
Yeah.
she's so a spitting image of like a perfect mixture of like Kurt and Courtney, but it's so odd to see her, and she's like so strikingly beautiful, and she is making her own music and doing her own thing. And it's really surreal. And she talked about, her dad's passing, and how she has moments where she's like, oh, I really need my dad to be here for me right now. And it was it's kind of, it's sad, but and again, it's like Robin Williams, like he touched so many people in his life, and as tragic
Hmm.
as his death was, he left such a legacy that, here we are in 2021. You're wearing their shirt. Still listen to his music. His music still has an impression on us. And you can see people that are in their teens wearing Nirvana shirts and listening to their music. So
Hmm.
that it's really amazing that they're able to have that sort of impact on pop culture. I
For
just thought it
sure.
was a funny anecdote that we're
Fun
both wearing
anecdote.
shirts
Yeah.
that are like related to that moment. So I had to say something.
Cool. I'm glad you shared that with us. That's really cool.
The other thing that I wanted to mention that's within the genre of music is Little Nas X, like continues to kind of push the boundaries of what's acceptable in society, or like pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable or not, I guess, if you want to say that. He released another
Okay.
video, which I don't know if you've seen, but it's, for some people is shocking. For me, it's more entertaining. But he basically, in the video, which I think he co-directed or directed, he's in jail, and they have like a scene where he's like in a shower, and they're, the dancers and him are both fully naked. They're like blurred out, but they're like dancing, and it's like a fully like gay moment. Like I think he's gone full on like unapologetically who he is, like, and he's like,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna pull back. Like, you don't tell, you know uh pop people like Britney Spears to throw on clothes or to not gyrate on stage. So like, why are you going to tell a gay black man to stop it, and to like stop showing that aspect of himself, which like I think is so courageous of him, especially being in hip hop, because the hip hop community can be so famously homophobic, and
Yeah.
not accepting of people within that genre of music expressing their sexuality in that way.
Hmm.
And so like I really respect him. I think that it's really great that he's like opening up the doors and like knocking down barriers within the hip hop community and within the pop culture realm. um, One of the responses to him, I think, is we're seeing more people kind of push back on it. One of the things that happened was the artist, I think his name is The Baby or Da Baby, made some
Yeah.
like really
With Dua Lipa, right?
homophobic, really gross comments about like HIV AIDS and gay men, and I think that it's sort of a response to Lil Nas X being so popular and being so, quote, out there, that people that are threatened by that now have to kind of push back and say like, hey, wait a minute, like I'm not cool with that.
Mm.
And so we might, unfortunately see more of that, more people that within the community kind of expressing anti-gay sentiment. Uh, which I think is really interesting that's the way some people are choosing to respond to him and his success. But as much as you want to dog him out and critique or not accept it, I think the more popular he's going to become and more of
Yeah,
a
that's true.
force to be reckoned with. And he's not looking back. He's not going to be, pulling any punches, which I think is great. The other thing that happened with the baby is that Dua Lipa, who did a single with him,
Hmm.
made
It's a fascinating song too.
it's a great song.
Yeah,
Like I
Levitating.
yeah,
Yeah, I really
Levitating is a
like that
great
song.
song. I honestly didn't know who the baby was. I listened to that song
Neither did I.
and I know that there's a rapper on it, but that's how fucking irrelevant he is in my life. Uh, to be blunt, and so I think that it's sort of sad that he made that choice to make that sort of statement that is really going to close off so many opportunities for him. Um,
That's what I was gonna say. Was that it's gonna come back to how people who work with him respond to those statements,
yeah,
and if they choose not to work with him anymore, or if they choose, what side they're gonna throw their hat into, so to speak.
yeah,
And I think that's gonna be he's
uh,
gonna learn a hard lesson that way.
yeah, and the thing that everyone has a right to, I guess, their opinion. And the thing that I always wonder is when you reach a certain level of success, like why aren't your PR people or why aren't isn't your management team coaching you to say how to speak, basically, and how to act, like how to train you properly. One would hope that your parents would have done that, but if they didn't, then maybe they should tell you to like, if you're getting some success, you're becoming, a mainstream artist, like maybe don't share your opinion on on really uh uh controversial topics, or call me crazy, but maybe like stop with the hate speech and be more
Exactly.
accepting. And uh I don't know how you can be within, pop culture, like being an artist like that and working with stylists and makeup artists and hair and photography and all of that, and be surrounded by gay people and being homophobic. It's not going to work out
Hmm.
for you, dude. Like, good luck with that. But if you get the community against you, like good luck finding a
Hmm.
stylist, good luck finding a video director, and someone to do your hair, or someone to take your pictures, and the allies of the LGBT community, like Dua Lipa. I mean, she pretty much was like, in so many words, like fuck off, like I'm not down with what you
Hmm.
said. She unfollowed him on Instagram, which is, I think, is hilarious that that's like such a tell of like where someone stands. Like, click, you're deleted from my life. And and she is like one of the biggest pop stars right now out there. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, if you mention Dua Lipa, I think so many people will know who she is. Whereas the baby, like, exactly.
Who dat?
Like it's like a shrug. Like, not that I'm like the biggest hip hop fan, so like maybe he is like a cultural, like icon, or like he's super relevant. But I mean, in a funny way, like I just can't take anyone seriously that one is a grown man and calls himself the baby, two walks around in a diaper. Like,
He does.
you want to have that sort of toxic masculinity attitude, yet you're walking around half naked around a bunch of other dudes in a diaper and call yourself the baby. Like, you might want to reevaluate what you're doing,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, I don't know. So, I mean, I'm not like saying like cancel him. Like, I hope maybe he gets some education, and maybe,
Yeah, that's true. Maybe
let's
he'll
give
learn
him the
from this
benefit of the
and
doubt. Maybe what he said wasn't
hmm
what he truly, wasn't expressed in the way that he wanted to, and maybe someone can teach him, and he can have a moment of clarity and say, okay, like, and I'm all for, like, if he were to apologize and say, look, this is what I was trying to express, or even I was wrong and I was coming from a place of ignorance and now I know better. Cool. Like, I'm all aboard for people changing, because there are too many ignorant people in the world right now for us to try to write everyone off. Like, we'll be left with no one. Like, everyone has, prejudices, have
Yeah, that's
ignorance
true.
about things, and I wish that more people were more open to educating people versus canceling them. I definitely hold people accountable. Like, I think that clothing companies that work with the baby should not hire him. I think that what Dua Lipa did is great. Like, don't take him on tour with you. Don't put another single out with him until he shows and proves that he's not a homophobe, that he's not a bigot, and I think that
Hmm.
we're, as consumers, we should speak with our dollars. But if someone truly does have, an about face and says, "Hey, look, I took the time to learn more and to educate myself, and I am truly, sincerely apologetic," give them that opportunity, because God knows, like, I'm sure all of us have had times in our lives where we were, maybe not so much, a bigot or homophobic or sexist, but like certainly, maybe misspoke or
Less than
had
optimal.
moments of ignorance where we, were really
Hmm.
speaking out the side of our mouth and maybe shouldn't have been. And thank God, like, maybe it wasn't recorded or it wasn't published, or, no one's holding us accountable to that and it's forgotten. So we all have, those moments. And at this time, I'm like, okay, let's not write him off. Let's give him the opportunity to be educated and learn more, and but allow him that. Like, I
Yeah,
don't think
I
that
hear what you're
anyone
saying.
is. Well, there are a few people that I think are too far gone, but uh, if given the opportunity, like, maybe hopefully he can see that, his worldview isn't accurate. Like, he can change his perspective.
Right.
And so yeah, so I wanted to talk about that because I just think that Lil Nas X is just like breaking boundaries right now. And I think that it really goes to show that even though there's been so much advancement with like LGBT acceptance, that there are certain areas of, pop culture society where it's like,
Hmm.
we're still not there. Like,
Right.
why do you have to dance in that way, or why do you have to, there was backlash when I think he kissed one of his background dancers, and it's like, well, okay, you don't have that backlash against like Madonna kissing Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera, so that was okay.
It's the double standard, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so yeah,
Yeah.
let's like take a moment and like maybe look at things differently. And so I just say I think he's great. I'm a big fan of his. I know some people aren't really into his music because they think it's like too pop. It's not like true hip hop or whatever. But I like it. I think it's he's really smart for such a young man, and he's really changing the face of that genre of music. So props.
Yeah, for sure.
Someone else that's changing things is um, Levar Burton just got named as the full time host now of Jeopardy, right?
Did he? All right. Yeah. I was hoping for that, but it wasn't. I know he was guest hosting this week
Yeah.
for on Jeopardy, and I know the rumors are circulating about who was going to get it, and I was hoping for him. But if he just got named it,
Yeah, I
cool,
think someone
awesome,
tweeted like temporary host, and then he retweeted and was like full I think like permanent host, I think he put. And so
nice,
I mean,
awesome.
I haven't confirmed, I haven't seen, I'm pretty sure that he has been now fully named as a new host. And so I think it's great.
All right,
Like,
on.
I'm not a
Yeah,
fan of his from Star Trek, which I think he's like kind of known for. I was a
yeah,
fan of his from Reading Rainbow. Like, I don't know if you remember that as a
hmm,
kid. Like,
yeah. I
that
remember
was like, but I think he kind of
that.
has that same spirit as Alex Trebek, as like a really intelligent, like, well-meaning person, like a very kind-hearted
Hmm.
individual. Like, Alex
Hmm.
Trebek was such like a cool man. Like, um, he didn't have an ego. He was very knowledgeable and funny, and
It was almost like a
yeah,
teacher in
like
a
he was
way,
like,
you
yeah,
know?
exactly, like one of the
Yeah, like an educator.
yeah,
Like,
like
yeah.
that could explain things to you in like a really fun, like non judgmental or non what would the word be? I guess like arrogant way, or
Hmm.
the example of like the a host that I freaking can't stand is like Pat Sajak, who's kind of like a prick. It's like the antithesis of that.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah, I hear you.
So I'm super glad. Like I'm glad. Like I'm looking forward to it. I love Jeopardy. Like I love watching with people and like proving that I'm smart and trying to like get those like Jeopardy questions down. Obviously, it's like it's such a game for someone who's like a fan of pop culture because you have to know like so much of like so many different
Mm-hmm.
categories. So like it speaks to my
Mm-hmm.
interest. So I'm excited. I can't wait to like see him as like a full time host, and I'm excited. I really like him. So.
Yeah, that's exciting news. Exciting for him too. I'm sure because I know he really
Yeah.
wanted it. So I'm glad. I'm glad that came. I saw a video that he shared that it was, I think was either his daughter or his wife recorded of she was panning back and forth between the TV of him hosting and then over to him sitting on the couch and then back over to the TV. He's here, but then he's also here. So it was just funny, just an
I mean,
enjoyable
talk
moment. So
about a sweet
yeah.
gig. Like that's just like a fat paycheck, like consistent. Like he's gonna be hosting for a while. Like
Right.
not that like my dreams of are like being an actor or anything, but I always like thought like if I were to be an actor, like the best gig I think would be on a sitcom. Like it's steady work. It's like
Mm-hmm.
it's I think it
Mm-hmm.
from what I've heard, it's a lot it's just fun. Like it's like going to work, right? Like it's consistent work and the paychecks are fat and then you have royalties like coming out like forever. It's a good show.
Oh yeah, yeah. Once you
Yeah,
get
like and
syndicated,
so I'm like,
yeah,
that would be
definitely.
like
Hmm.
the dream gig. Like versus like being a movie actor. Like I think there's a certain amount of respect that comes from being like a movie actor. But I think the real sweet gig is like getting in on like a show like Friends or like Seinfeld, like a good like 10, 14 years
Like a Will
consistent
and
work,
Grace or
and
something.
then you
Yeah.
can just like retire after
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Well, anything else you have for
I
this
think
week?
that's it. Like that's pretty much all the like hot topics or like pop culture stuff that well, there's one more thing. Let me just quickly say because I thought that it was
Aha.
hilarious was um Jeff Bezos and his like crotch rocket, like solid rocket to the sky. Like, I don't care what rich people
When
do with their money. I do, but like I mean, was it not like hilarious that it was like shaped like a penis? Like, was I the only one that like saw that? Like, it was hilarious. Like,
no,
why
you're
would you
not the
make a
only one.
rocket
I
look
mean,
like that and not think you're going to be like the butt of everyone's joke?
when I saw that, my mind went straight to Austin Powers and Doctor Evil's spaceship, where they do now little cutaways. Look here, it looks just like a private Johnson, and then that's a big, and then they do all the little cutaways to the, referencing that what it looks like, and that's just where my mind went. And yeah,
Yeah,
you're totally right on. That's didn't his artists when they were designing that step back and say maybe we should change this design a little bit. I
right.
don't know.
Like,
I guess when you're
or was
that
it
rich,
like
it
the
doesn't matter.
opposite? Did they like design a really cool rocket and he's like, nah, it could be a little cockier. Like, it's not
Yes, I think
virile
that's
enough.
it.
It has to be able to like ram through the sky and the ozone. Like you want it to penetrate into space. I think that's all the puns that I
Exactly.
have right now. That's all I can think of on the
Okay.
spot. But with that being
Yes.
said, I do want to thank our listeners again for tuning in and hopefully subscribing, watching us on YouTube now, like our new like home away from
Hmm.
home. Definitely check us out, on all the places that you can stream podcasts. Subscribe, comment, leave us little tips of maybe what topics you want. We do have a really cool interview coming up soon. I can't wait to interview our next guest, which will be coming up soon and which will be on our next episode. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be really exciting for us. And yeah, like just stay tuned for more topics from me and Danny and from PopCultX. And thank you once again for checking us out.
Yeah. Thanks,
Stay
everyone.
safe.
Stay safe.